Low academic achievement can come from a lot of things, but the place you study can drastically affect how you're going to end up. Take, for example, when you study in a classroom and there's no windows. You feel hot and sweaty, and that is not an optimal way to study. Or when you're trying to study and you're hearing bird sounds or other sounds from outside the class because the class walls couldn't block the sound from outside. That is not a way to study properly, because how else are you going to study if you can't focus on the teacher? Curriculums can change, but if you're not comfortable in the place that you study, then why does it matter? That is why we are so happy to oppose. Now, before I start my argument, I'd like to respond to some things that government have said. First of all, when you compare studying in class and studying in competition, that is already an entirely different thing. Why? Because studying in class have different agendas from studying in competition. When trying to study in class, there's a lot of broader and a lot of different aspects and uses for that studying. You're trying to study for you're trying to study in class to get to a college or a university. You're trying to study in class to better understand the world around you. When you're trying to understand the world, you're going to use that studying, you're going to use that knowledge to use that in your day-to-day lives and implement that in your day-to-day lives. But studying in competition is just that, studying for competition. When you're studying for competition, you're going to study about what the competition is about. You're going to study about what the competition is consist of and what the competition wants you to do. You're going to reflect what the competition wants from you to yourself. You're not going to implement anything in your day-to-day lives. So when you're trying to compare studying in class and studying in competition, that means you're trying to make studying in competition the same as studying in class, which is an entirely different thing and different aspect. Because let's say you're trying to study in competition and you're trying to implement it in your real lives. That studying in competition has a shorter when you're trying to study in competition, that it is not as usable and not as versatile as normally studying in class. So when you're trying to compare those two different things, you can't compare them, because it's as if you're comparing an apple to an orange, because they're fruits. You can't compare two different things because you think that they're in the same category. You have to compare the same thing, and studying for education and for competition have distinct agendas and plans. You can't make it the same. When you try to compare things that aren't the same, you're bound to make mistakes. Secondly, the problem is the mischaracterization of teachers, where teachers seem like they don't know what the new curriculum could be. Even if they don't know the curriculum, that is not a problem from the curriculum, rather a problem from the teacher. This personal experience does not picture any other people's experience, because it depends on the teacher's knowledge, which should be the latest data. If the teachers are the problem, then that is not what the motion is about. Alright, because it is all clear, I'll start my first argument. As I've said, educational facilities are important. They help students feel comfortable in their environment and make them be able to have the privilege of using technology and facilities they couldn't have. Facilities can come in all shapes and sizes. When you're given a fast internet, you're given the opportunity to search online, search for references, and comparing other sources, and that facilitation can really help boost your ability. Let's say when you're trying to study for chemistry and you don't know what to do, you have to search online and you have to search for answers, search for references, search for sources that are credible, and search for sources that are easily trustable. When you're trying to search and you're trying to find about a lot of information, and when you're trying to win a competition, information is the part of the game. When you're trying to win a competition, you're going to have to focus on what the competition wants from you, and that can be win by data, by using a lot of information, and by finding more information. You're going to find that you are going to be at the center of the competition, because you're going to see that you are in an advantage by having the most amount of data. And that is not and facilities are not just digital, where you can make better rooms for each type of competition. Let's say making them suitable to simulate an actual competition. Like, for example, makes rooms adjusted to students' wonders about their subject. Like, let's say you're trying to make a debate competition, you're going to implement the decorations for debating, or making the layout of the room seem like it's like a debating room, and others, and etc. and etc. Making them feel calm, collected, and focused. No matter how much information you can do, you cannot make the sense of calmness with textbooks piling up as you feel the unmotivating feeling of your classroom, making you feel bored and tired and even sleepy. You can't possibly think to create a focused environment when the walls don't block sound and noise from all over the place fill the room. It's not just fixable by prioritizing the curriculum. My second argument is that curriculum reformation is not viable. In the past years, we've already seen curriculums have been very temporary, and it feels like we can change that we change it every time. Adapting to a new curriculum takes time, as we have seen. And if the argument presented by the government is true, is that teachers don't understand the curriculum, then simply do a training where teachers can better understand the model, where teachers can understand what is happening in the curriculum right now, and what is the latest data right now. When you try and reform the curriculum, you're going to see massive problems that arise from that, such as what? Well, let's see the change between Kulas and Kuruma. That change significantly affected a lot of schools in Indonesia, especially almost all schools, because it was and is very different from the last curriculum. Even if the change was necessary, it would still take a lot of time to adapt to it, and time is a very valuable resource. When you're trying to study in a class, and you see that the teacher isn't even understanding what the thing that they're studying is, you're going to be distrustful of the teacher. You're going to think that this teacher is not good enough, that this teacher is not well enough, and that is what the government have said, that the teacher wasn't good enough. But that was the problem. The problem was not about the curriculum, but about the teacher, and that is what the flaw in his case is. And that is why curriculum changing is even more worse, because that will make every single teacher make different types of choices about how they can teach, because when you're trying to teach and you can't understand what it means and what the curriculum means, then you can't really understand how you can teach the class when you can't really understand the motion or the material yourself. And third of all is the necessity of all this. Why is this necessary? Why is changing your curriculum necessary? Changing the curriculum takes time and effort and a lot of things. The urgency is not even stated in the government's case, because the government never really stated it for a fact that necessity of all of this it is necessary for all this to happen. Curriculum reformation is a very hard thing, and changing the facilities is a very small thing. It just needs money. But curriculum reformation takes time, money, and the patience of all teachers. It can sacrifice the students that are in the phases of changing without any real reason. The only reason that the government have said is to make more competitive achievements. And that is not a viable or even urgent way to change the whole curriculum, because curriculums are the basis and the foundation of everything and every single education facilities. When you're trying to change that, you're trying to change every single aspect of education, and you're going to have to explain how that is that urgent. When you're trying to make that urgency because you're trying to make more wins and more first places, you're not going to have the best case right there. And that is why we propose the motion. Thank you very much.